Downtown, Petco Park, a new beginning, let's go. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Baby said she wanna go to the game. Taught her how to say Padres gang. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Mitchell and Ness with the old school name. All of the homies holler Padre gang. Yeah, that.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Talking Friars, July 5th, 2020. I'm coming to you for the Padres take on the Tigers. That's going to start at like 4:10 p.m. Pacific time on the West Coast. I am in the Central time zone, so my times are kind of getting a little mixed up here. But 4:10 is the first pitch. And I believe it's a little before 2 o'clock on the West Coast, so we got a couple hours before first pitch. Shamanaya is on the mound for the Padres today, and then Drew Hutchinson is on the mound for the Tigers. I see in the chat already that I'm lagging a little bit. Sorry, I can't control that really. I'm at a relative's house, and the Wi-Fi, yeah, it's kind of slow, but I still wanted to go live and still do this. Solo Dolo asks, any trade news? No, not really. There was a report out by John Heyman, whether it was today, I don't know, today or yesterday, that talked about the St. Louis Cardinals being the favorites now to add Juan Soto. The Padres, I think, have better, players that they could go give the Nationals, so I think that they're actually the favorites. But we don't really know who the favorites are, right? There's only one team that knows who the favorites are, and that's the Nationals, the team that's going to be trading Juan Soto. They probably have like specific players in mind, and until they get those specific players, and no deal's going to happen, So no, excuse me, sorry. No, no trade news, no news really about anything. No Musgrove extension news or anything like that. Musgrove started yesterday in the Sunday night game, so I think it would look like Musgrove would have some time to look over the contract extension proposal that the Padres handed over to him. I think during the All-Star break that he didn't get a chance to look out because of how busy he was during the All-Star break. So maybe they get a deal done, an extension done this week. But AJ Preller and everyone is also, busy with the trade deadline and doing all that stuff. So maybe there's an extension after the trade deadline, and they just wait for the good of the team so that the whole Padres front office can focus on, improving this Padres team this year. Someone asks, is Castillo worth chasing? I think he's talking about Luis Castillo of the Reds, the Reds pitcher. I don't think he's worth chasing for the Padres because I don't think he fits the Padres for this year. Another team could go acquire him, and then he'd just be on that team. I think he has one more year of control after this year. But no, I mean, the Padres' rotation is pretty set, I think, this year. I think they need to focus on acquiring Juan Soto or acquiring another power-hitting outfielder or acquiring Wilson Contreras. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense for them to be focusing on adding to a place on the team that they have a surplus of. They need to go focus on adding places, or excuse me, improving the roster in places that they need improvement from. I don't think you need to go searching for improvement from the starting rotation. All right, so getting into this pregame portion of the show, the Tigers are 38-58 entering tonight. They suck. Padres are 54-43. This is a series that I hope the Padres can sweep, and they definitely need to win this series. What I like about this series, I think is pretty cool, is Jake Cronenworth. This is kind of his homecoming. He grew up in St. Clair, Michigan, which is a little over an hour from Comerica Park, and so he's going to have like a bus full of people come down. I don't know if it's down or up, but come to Comerica Park and watch him play tonight and during the whole series, I would think. So that has to be pretty cool for him. the Padres don't go to Comerica Park like ever. This is the first time that some of the beat writers have ever been to Comerica Park, so that tells me that they haven't been there in a long, long time. I don't know. I think I was listening to the radio this morning, and Ben and Woods were talking about how the Padres have never played at Comerica Park, or they played there once. So that's really, really weird because even a teams in the American League, the Padres, like for the Yankees for example, the Padres would go play. They played at Yankee Stadium a few years ago. I know Paddock was on the team. He started that game. He sucked, but I remember from that series, Paddock was starting one of those games. And the Yankees in 2016, they came to Petco. But for the Padres, if this is correct, for them to never have gone to Detroit before, I think that's really weird and really unique. And the schedule is changing next year, so every couple years, I believe they'll be going to Detroit. So that's a pretty cool thing, I think, that fans around baseball, they'll get to see the Jake Cronenworths, those hometown kids, or they get to go see, or like Padre fans, for example, at Petco, they'll get to see Trout and Ohtani if Ohtani stays with the Angels, every couple years instead of having to go to Anaheim or seeing them once every like 4 years. And maybe someone like Trout, the last time the Angels came through, maybe that player is hurt or something. So I think that's pretty cool. They'll probably have more about Jake Cronenworth's homecoming on the broadcast in Valley Sports San Diego tonight. It's also on 97.3 The Fan. Again, it's at 4:10 on the West Coast. So it's an early game because I believe Detroit is the East Coast time zone. But yeah, that's pretty much what we got going right now. Uh, there was some news today. The qualifying offer. I think Major League Baseball. I haven't dove too far into it, but Major League Baseball and the Players Association, they have not been able to reach an agreement on the international draft, and the qualifying offer is remaining in place. So if not the Padres, if Major League Baseball and the Players Association would have uh, made an agreement and come to an agreement on an international draft today by the deadline, then I believe what that means is the qualifying offer that's attached to some free agents would have gone away, but they couldn't agree to an international draft. So nothing has changed. Free agents that have the qualifying offer attached to them in the offseason, they're still going to have that qualifying offer attached to them, and there's not going to be an international draft. So instead, there's going to be just how it is usual. There's going to be each team's going to have a certain amount of money that they can spend on international players, and players can sign with whatever team they want to. Uh, I haven't dove too much into that, but what today means is that nothing has changed really. So you don't really have to do a whole lot of research if you don't want to. Nothing has changed. The qualifying offer is still intact to some free agents, and then I think it's the best free agents. Those they have the qualifying offer attached, and what the qualifying offer is if let's say I think Zach Wheeler had it attached to him, and he signed with the Phillies, so the Phillies have to give a draft pick to Wheeler's former team, the Mets. So that's what the qualifying offer is. That's still intact. No draft, so Preller can go sign whoever he wants in their international market with the designated amount of money that they have internationally. Again, I don't follow it too much. There's probably experts that talk about this, but that was some news that came down today. And then I believe was it Kevin Acee? Yeah, Kevin Acee in his newsletter this morning. I tweeted about it. Fernando Tatis Jr. probably is going to be starting a rehab assignment early next week in San Antonio, and that would set him up, I think, if it's a short rehab assignment, it would set him up to pitch, or not pitch, it would set him up to return for the Dodgers series. So that's good news, and that Dodgers series is August 5th through the 7th. And so he's with the team right now, I think, taking batting practice on the field. And then when the Padres come back home to play the Twins this weekend, 29th, 30th, and 31st, he's going to face live BP, so like a couple live sessions, probably against like Drew Pomerantz or Pierce Johnson, guys that are rehabbing. And then he'll go out for a rehab assignment. I believe it's with San Antonio, the AA teams, the Missions, for maybe a couple games, a few games. And then if all goes well, then maybe he plays that Dodgers series and he returns that Dodgers series. And obviously, I don't have to go into it too much. Obviously, Fernando's return is going to be huge for this team because they need more power in this lineup. And we're all talking about how they need more power in the outfield and all that. And I think we're thinking about that without Fernando in the lineup. I'm not saying we don't need power, but I still am interested to see, Fernando's going to return after the deadline, but I'm interested to see how Fernando and whoever the Padres acquire, how much power can they provide to this Padres offense? Because if they can provide some really good power, like we have seen Fernando, provide to this team, I think the Padres are going to be in a much better spot than they are right now, obviously. And that would set them up very well to make the postseason this year. So those are some news and some notes from today. Shamanai is on the mound for the Padres. First start after the All-Star break. In his last start, he went 6 innings, gave up 3 earned runs against the Diamondbacks. The start before that, he went 6 1/3, gave up 2 earned runs. So he's been pitching pretty well. He's been pitching well, pretty good, I'd say, all season long. A lot of quality starts. He's had like 3 starts this year, only 3 starts that have gone less than like 6 innings. So this guy, you know what he's going to give you, and especially when he's facing the Tigers, you hope that he can go 7 innings against this lineup. There's a lot of strikeout, at least from what just looking at the names in this Detroit lineup. I think there's a lot of strikeout here. Javier Baez, I think Candelario, he's hitting 194. Harold Castro. It's a lot of no names. Like casual fans have no idea who these guys are. Riley Green was one of their top prospects. He's leading off for them. Baez is at short. Robbie Grossman's their 3-hitter, and he was like a bench player for a good team, for like a contending team. I think the A's. Cabrera's DHing, Miggy. Eric Haase, I think is how you say his name. He's catching. Jonathan Scope, the former Oriole, is at second base, batting 6th. Then Candelario's at 3rd, Castro's at 1st, and then Willie Castro. So there's the Harold Castro at 1st, and then batting 9th is Willie Castro. He's in right field. So a lot of no names in this Detroit lineup, and the Padres need to capitalize and win these games. For the Padres lineup, it's Profar leading off, and Crony's hitting second in his homecoming. Manny's batting 3rd, Mazara's batting 4th, Voigt's DHing, Hosmer's at 1st. Alfaro's catching Manaea. Grisham's in center, so it's his first game back since, Friday, after the back injury thing that he had running into the pitcher the other day. He's hitting 8th. Kim is hitting 9th at shortstop, so no CJ Abrams still. He's dealing with the biceps. Yeah, the right bicep soreness is what he's dealing with. I think it's a little weird that he's dealing with this right when the trade deadline's supposed to happen, but he would be included in a Juan Soto deal, so I'm not worried about this injury and it affecting the Nationals in a deal, because the Nationals are not trying to win right now, so they don't necessarily need him to be like fully healthy and ready to go for this year. It's not like they're going to go on a postseason run or anything. Same with Gore. Like, there's some people that are bringing up on Twitter about how, oh, isn't it kind of inconvenient that Gore isn't being hidden in the bullpen right now? I mean, maybe it's a little inconvenient, but I don't think it's that inconvenient, because the Gore still, I think, has some high value, especially with other teams. Like, when he's starting and he's pitching well, we've seen how dominant he can be and how much of an impact he can provide to the Padres, and that's his potential, is being like that all-star starting pitcher. And remember, at some point this year, he was in the race for Rookie of the Year, right? With the Giants hitter, right? So he has that potential, and I think the Nationals see that. I think they view Abrams can be a potential all-star type shortstop, and definitely be that replacement to Trey Turner, right? Because Trey Turner, they traded to the Dodgers last season before the trade deadline. So I think that's what they're looking at. Again, I don't know. I'm not AJ. I'm not Mike Rizzo, the Nationals GM. So obviously don't know if a trade's going to happen. But the Padres, I think, have the pieces to do it. And I don't think that Mackenzie Gore being in the bullpen and Abrams being hurt, I don't think that affects their ability to go get Juan Soto. I don't think that affects the Nationals' asking price. Like, I think Gore and Abrams, they still will think highly of them regardless of if they're hurt or not right now. And it's just bicep soreness for Abrams. It doesn't seem anything that's like long term. And with Mackenzie Gore, like he had so much pressure on him this year in terms of him staying in the rotation, like on himself, not like to help the team, but like on himself he had the pressure because if he didn't pitch well starting wise, he knew that he was just going to go to the bullpen because they have so many starting pitchers that they can just go to they have the luxury, the Padres do, to just go to a 5-man rotation instead of having a 6-man rotation, right? Um, like they were having the majority of the first half of the season. They can do that. Some other teams can't. And if Gore was traded to the Nationals before the deadline in a Juan Soto deal, what would happen? He would probably be one of their best starters. Or he would definitely be starting the rest of the year if the Nationals don't have an innings limit on him, and if they just want him to pitch, he'd be starting every fifth day in the rotation. Because they're not trying to win right now. They're just trying to develop players like Keibert Ruiz and those guys, and Abrams if Abrams goes to the Nationals. I know I kind of just went off on a different path there with the Gore Abrams stuff. Drew Hutchinson is the Tigers starter today. His last time out allowed 4 runs in 5 innings of work at Cleveland on July 15th. This is obviously his first start after the All-Star break. You're not going to get a long outing, I don't really think, out of him today. The most innings he's gone in an outing this year is 6. 5 innings the last time out, 5 innings the start before his second to last start. And then before that, it was 4 innings, 4 2/3 innings, and then a lot of 1 or 2 inning stints. Like, I don't think he's going to go long. I think if the Padres, one of the keys here, what to watch for, how short can they make Hutchinson's. I keep saying Hutchinson. How short can they make Hutchinson's start today? Because if they can do that, I don't think the Tigers' bullpen is. I haven't heard anything about how great their bullpen is. I know they have that one reliever. Let me try to look up his name here. He was an all-star this year, and he's going to generate some interest on the trademark. Gregory Soto, that's his name. I think he was the Tigers' only all-star this year, not including Miguel Cabrera. He was the legend pick, right? But, yeah, he's like their best reliever, Gregory Soto. And I think they're just showing him off for the trade deadline because obviously the Tigers, they suck. They're 38-58. So this is a game that the Padres need to win. I think they should win all of these games. If there's one game that maybe they don't win, maybe it's tomorrow because I don't know. As Detroit, I don't think Detroit's even named a starter, but Clev is on the mound. Yeah, no starter yet for Detroit, I don't think. But Wednesday they have Darvish on the mound. I'm confident in him. I'm not saying I'm not confident in Clevenger, but I know that winning 2 out of 3, sweeping a series on the road, any series is tough. So just give them one game. Maybe tomorrow's the hardest game to win. I keep checking my phone here to see if there's any updates on Twitter or anything. Just because the trade deadline's right around the corner. My Padre pick for today is Jake Cronenworth. It's his homecoming. I feel like it's only appropriate to do that. And I'm kind of... It's almost like every day I'm confident in Jake Cronenworth. Like he's going to show up for me, I think. Well, not for me, but like in a Padre pick, I'm confident. I know he's not going to get a hit every day, but whenever I pick him, like I think that's a safe pick that you're going to have, or that I'm going to have a really good chance of coming through with that. So I got Croney in my Padre pick today. I went with Profar yesterday. He went 0 for 4, so I'm 56-35 so far this season. In my pregame show Padre pick, it is Manaea against Hutchinson on the mound today. 4:10's the first pitch. Bally Sports San Diego, 97.3 The Fan. As for the bullpen situation, I think Taylor Rogers will be available today. He did not pitch yesterday after going 15 and then 28 pitches the 2 days before that. Garcia will be available. I think Steven Wilson's the only guy that would be like off limits. They probably wouldn't want to pitch Nick Martinez on back-to-back days. I think Morahone would be available, so maybe they'd go Morahone, Chris Matt, Garcia, Rogers today. If Manaea can only go like 6 innings. Mackenzie Gore, I think that's something to look at. Like, they're kind of hiding him in the bullpen right now. They didn't pitch him during the Mets series because they didn't want to. I don't know if I'm saying because, like, I know. I don't know why they didn't pitch him, but I think they wanted to stay away. Just they didn't want to put him in a high leverage situation, and pitching in a Detroit series is probably a better spot for him to be pitching after the All-Star break than against the Mets on Sunday Night Baseball. But that's just me. But he has not pitched in a long time. He's had more than 5 days rest. So that's what we got going today. I'll answer questions here in the chat if you have any. If you want to support the channel, there's that super chat button, that $ in the comments that you can hit. And if you want to support the channel that way, feel free. And then I believe on regular videos, there's that super thanks button that you can press as well to support the channel. So I appreciate anyone's support. And even if you don't support the channel like via like money donations, you're supporting me by watching this. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone coming to talk Padres, right? That this is, we love this team and we're so passionate about it. I do these pregame shows every day because I love this team and I want to see this team win. Not a whole lot of comments today. Solo Dolo asks, you think they want to see if they can pull Soto before they finalize a contract with Musgrove? I don't know what that would do, them acquiring Soto before Musgrove. Like, why would that do anything? Like, Musgrove's still going to want the same amount of money regardless of if Soto's on the team or not. I think that you might be able to see you might see the Padres try to have Musgrove sign the extension after the trade deadline, not just for Soto, but so AJ Preller and the Padres can focus on the trade deadline and they don't have to be paying attention to Musgrove. And in terms of like being unselfish from Musgrove's point of view and just letting the front office focus on improving this year's team, because this year's team has a good chance of winning if they can improve this team significantly. I think that you could see Musgrove going that route and the Padres trying to go that route. But in terms of Soto, I don't think that doing that deal before the Musgrove extension, I don't think that really does anything. Yeah. Other than the Padres focusing on that over a Musgrove extension. But I don't think that if acquiring Soto is going to make Musgrove want to stay more. Like, he already wants to stay. It's just about getting the value that he wants, really. Solo also asks, you think Grisham is a trade piece for Soto? Yes. I don't know if the Nationals are interested in him, but he does kind of fit that bill. He's an outfielder that could go be a body replacing Soto, right? And he has, I think, 3 more years of control after this year. So, yeah, he could definitely fit that description that Ken Rosenthal was describing the other day on Fox Sports 1. The Nationals want those really top prospects, and they also want those prospects that have the low service time so that they can have them, not have to pay them as much, and they have them for like 3-4 years. And Grisham fits that. Cobra says he thinks the Cardinals are going to get Soto. The Cardinals and the Padres are like the 2 main teams that are being talked about right now for Soto. I don't know too much about the Cardinals farm system, but yeah, the New York Post just put out something about the Cardinals being the favorites. The Padres, they keep being mentioned as the first team among like every beat writer or every national reporter. So it feels like the Cardinals and the Padres are the 2 main teams, but you always got to look at the Dodgers, the Giants, those teams like that, because it feels like they always sneak up on the Padres in these trade talks. Anthony asks, Soto or Musgrove? I mean, Soto, I think, would have a bigger impact to the team, but you can always go get an outfielder. I know not the caliber of Soto, but you can always go get an outfielder. They do have Mazara and Myers right now for this year. But in the future, I mean, locking down Musgrove, that's huge, right? Because Musgrove's the best starter on the free agent market if he doesn't have an extension. And if he does have the extension, um, well, then that just guarantees that the Padres have that starting pitching depth. They have Musgrove at the top of the rotation. Then they have Darvish behind him next year. Then you have Snell. And if you're saying in this situation that they don't get Soto, then their four starter would be like Gore, right? They still have Adrian Morejon. Like if you have Joe there, that you have a pretty solid five starters there, even if let's say like Martinez and Clevenger and Mania don't re-sign back in free agency. Like that's kind of like a worst case scenario if they bring back Musgrove. If you don't bring back Musgrove, on the other hand, if even if you have Soto, like your rotation is obviously weaker next year, and now your Darvish is your ace, and now you're probably relying too much on Snell and probably too much on Gore because of how young he is, and I don't know if he has an innings limit. So yeah, that's a tough question. I think I think they can survive without Soto. I think having having to be without Musgrove, that would be pretty tough next year because he's the best starting pitcher available on the free agent market, and he's their best starter in their rotation. And there's just so many uncertainties with the other free agent starters right now, or excuse me, the other starters that will be free agents that are on the team right now. Clevenger, Mania, Martinez. You just don't know if they're going to come back. So, all right, I think that's going to do it for the pregame show for today. Padres Tigers, July 25th, 4:10 as the first pitch. Mania is on the mound. Cronenworth hitting second. He's my Padre pick, and he's got his homecoming today, being back in the state of Michigan. This, like I mentioned earlier, I think this is the Padres' first time facing the Tigers at Comerica Park, so that is weird. But yeah, that'll do it. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And I'll talk to you guys later. Go Padres.